Good afternoon and welcome to Aerospace Engineering Resource Center here at the University of Texas at Austin. We're very glad that you've joined us to learn more about why you should come to UT Austin to study aerospace engineering. My name is Nicole and I'm a graduating senior. I'll be behind the camera today as your host and moderator. We have 4 great panel members and I'll let them introduce themselves. We can start with you, Yash.
So my name's Yash. I'm a freshman in aerospace engineering. I'm part of the unmanned aerial vehicle team, and I'm doing research in space debris.
I'm Josefina. I'm a second-year aerospace engineering student. I'm going to the space track, and I'm also involved with the Women in Aerospace for Leadership and Development group here, and also do research as part of the Texas Spacecraft Laboratory.
I'm Michaela. I'm a third year in aerospace engineering. I'm going the space track, and I'm in LRA, which is Longhorn Rocket Association, as well as the Women Engineering program.
Hi, my name is Siddharth. I am a senior. I am space track. I've been involved with the Autonomous Guidance Nav Control Research Group and also the Radio Navigation Lab. And I've also been involved with the unmanned aerial vehicle team.
Okay, thank you. As you're joining us, please feel free to chime in and let us know where you're from. And as you have questions that come up, we encourage you to enter them and we'll do our best to get all of your questions answered. So I guess to start us off, we'll start with asking our panel with why did you choose UT Austin to study aerospace engineering? That is as opposed to maybe going out of state or to another in-state school.
So I've lived in Austin for a while, so UT is very near and dear to my heart. And it's also, as far as in-state schools go, it's one of the top 10. It's actually 8, I think, in aerospace engineering, which makes it honestly one of the best choices that I have.
Yeah, I think the study life is really nice, but it's not too big where it feels overwhelming. So you still get a lot of the amenities of being in a city, a lot of the fun aspect of it too. The music life is really great too. But aside from just Austin, just like the facilities here and being ranked so high, it really was a really good choice for me.
Yeah, I agree with I love living in the city. I applied to actually all out-of-state schools, and this was actually one of the only in-state schools I applied to, and I just really love the reputation that UT had.
So I also applied to every school I applied to, except UT was out of state. So in-state places I applied to. I'm glad I chose UT. There's a huge breadth of opportunities available here, just in general at the university, and also especially in the aerospace engineering department. And it's contributed a lot to everyone's success here.
Okay, thank you. So kind of going along with that, what sort of hands-on projects or groups have you been involved with? We can start with you, Siddharth.
Sure. So my freshman and sophomore year, I was involved with the unmanned aerial vehicle team, in which we developed a fixed-wing aircraft that's supposed to fly autonomously to do various tasks such as search and rescue. It was a lot of fun. I was the team lead for programming and gave me a lot of hands-on experience with actually getting opportunities to build an aircraft and actually program it to do something. That's not something you'll see in like maybe a first or second year course, but gives you a lot of really good involvement up and running as soon as you get to the university. I've also been involved with research in regarding quadcopters and other drones and stuff.
So I'm in Longhorn Rocket Association, where we basically fabricate our own rockets from scratch. That was pretty fun. I'm working on right now getting my certifications, launching different level engines.
Since a freshman year, I've been involved with WILD, and we do a kind of different project each year, switching between like atmospheric related and like space kind of related project. This year we're working on a hand tool for astronauts to use on like EVA walks to like detect sharp MOD impacts on the handrails of the ISS and cover them permanently. And I'm also involved with research at the Texas Spacecraft Laboratory, and that we are working on the tail end of a satellite that's set to launch this summer, and I've been working on the communication sub team, doing a lot of the ground station work.
So this year I started doing research with Dr. Marie Baja on orbital debris tracking, where we use sort of resources like Doppler radar and Air Force radar, and we backtrack objects that have fallen into the atmosphere in order to calculate, how long they've been in space, how long they've been in orbit, and what objects and collisions they came from, which is really important for the future of space travel. So it's very hands-on and a very real-life application to something my freshman year.
Great, thank you. So a lot of you mentioned that you really enjoy living in Austin. So what are some of the things that you think make Austin really great? We can start with you, Yash.
I'm a big fan of the food. Food here is fantastic. It's not just the Tex-Mex cuisine, but there's a whole lot of diversity all across campus and just all around Austin. And then everyone here is just, there's something different about them. They're very nice, they're very open, but it's a mix of sort of Austin, keep Austin weird idea with Texan hospitality, and that's what makes it very unique.
I totally agree too. Another thing I really like is the music life. Austin is really big about having there are a lot of artists all around, like up and coming artists. And there's also like the ACL Fest each year, which is a lot of fun. South by Southwest also is another huge nationwide music festival, and there's free things to go to all the time, and just going out and exploring different restaurants that usually have live music, which is really cool too. That's one of my favorite aspects of Austin.
I really like that Austin is really dog friendly.
Yeah.
I don't think I can go anywhere without seeing at least one dog. Also, as well as the music life, there's concerts happening every other weekend. And being a third year, I've been here obviously for 3 years, and I actually haven't needed a car for anything. Austin's very accessible by bus and just walking.
So I've actually lived all around the world, and my family's settled in Austin for over 10 years. The reason for that, it's a great city, huge diversity, very welcoming, and there's a place and something to do for everyone here.
Awesome. So we know UT is fairly big. So what are some things that you're able to do to make it feel a lot smaller?
So I think one great thing about UT is that there's a student organization for everything and everything. Like anything you want to do, any hobby you have, there's something available for you. And what I would really recommend anyone here to do is to get involved with the student org, whether it's in aerospace or otherwise, because it really gives you a sense of community with people that share your own passions. And the aerospace department itself, it's very welcoming, that we all feel like a big family here.
Definitely getting involved in organizations. Specific organizations, obviously I'm involved, like National Society of Black Engineers. It creates a sense of community that some people may lack in other areas, as well as if you're more interested in, say, sports and whatnot, I'm also in Longhorn Raiders, which is a spirit org on campus. So there's really something for everyone to do here.
Yeah, one of the things I really like about coming in, we are putting these freshman interest groups, and that really was really cool because right off the bat you start off with a group of people that you kind of meet with weekly and you have similar classes. So that really helped at the beginning, just having people to study with and even go out with too, explore Austin and everything at the beginning. But yeah, so that's a really cool thing that pretty unique to UT.
Yeah, I definitely recommend student orgs. I personally am part of Texas Taekwondo, and it's a fantastic family, and that applies across the board for all kinds of student orgs. And then aerospace in and of itself is a very special community. We're a little bit smaller than some of the other engineering groups, which makes us a much tighter family, and we have a very particular sense of humor.
Siddharth, I think there's a good question for you since you're getting your PhD here.
Yeah, I am.
We have a question from Nihao who says, what do you think about getting a master's in UT Austin in aerospace engineering after doing electrical engineering?
Yeah, so there's actually many people here that come into aerospace coming from a background in electrical engineering. I can easily count 5 people off the top of my head that work in my research lab alone that have an electrical engineering background as their undergrad, but are looking switched into aerospace engineering here. All the work we do here is extremely interdisciplinary. We have people from aerospace, mechanical, computer science, electrical, all across the board working together. And there's a lot of skills that you can learn and apply to other fields. So definitely there's huge precedence for that as well. So
Thank you. And we have a question from Nisreen. She asked, how have you found your community at UT? So I know some of you touched upon this, but we can just make sure we hit it. And was it easy to make friends?
I'll take this one. So when you come in for orientation, right, there's a huge tabling event, and there'll be tabling throughout the beginning of the year as well, which is basically a bunch of orgs come and they try and advertise themselves to you because they want you. They want as many people as they can. And so they'll set up on your walk paths to and from classes. And so that's how you find a lot of these clubs. They sort of pique your interest as you walk, go and talk to them. And so that's how I found Taekwondo. That's probably how some of y'all found your groups. And as for finding friends, I don't think it was difficult. People at UT are just very friendly, and there's a very strong sense of sort of UT pride. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think I agree. It's the community aspect is sort of like all throughout UT, not just aerospace. The aerospace community is really great. But no matter what org you join in, I feel like you find people that you have a lot of interest with, and that creates another smaller community, and that makes it easier to find friends too. So.
Definitely, I would say hanging out in certain areas, you will find certain people. Like, for example, hanging out in the LRC in the aerospace building, you're going to find more aerospace friends, than you will mostly any other major. But looking outside of those majors, definitely the tabling events that go on. Just, most people just walk by and ignore the flyers that are being given out, but some of them are some really great orgs that are really fun to be part of.
So UT is a really big place, and counterintuitively, I think that's what really gives you a sense of community, in that there's a huge diversity of people here, and there's always someone that shares your interests and passions.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. So we have a question from John, and he asks, what's the workload like the first semester?
First semester of freshman year?
Yes.
So it honestly depends on what classes you're taking. So a big part of your course schedule over the 4 years comes from your prereqs that you come into UT with, what APs you took. I think IB doesn't apply nearly as well, but mostly what AP tests you took and what classes you can place out of. The intro classes are, and also it's from your point of view, it's depending on how your high school, how rigorous it was, what it taught you, etc. The intro courses are straightforward, but I've been told, because I'm a second semester freshman, I've been told by multiple people that as you move forward with time, the classes get more difficult and more interesting. And so that's what sort of motivates you to continue forward. If you come into your first semester and you're taking like a wide variety of classes, don't despair, because that happens to everyone. The best is yet to come.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest, differences between college and high school was that, in high school you're going in from 9 to 4 or whatever, but when you come in, you have a very it seems like a lot of open space for your schedule, and then I think that's one of the challenges at first is just figuring out, even though it might look like you have some time, you have to fit in a lot of other things too, and you have to make your own schedules, your own time for studying, for homework, for everything. But about that, you go on and for me, it's, even though the classes have gotten a little harder, it's also been easier to work with them, because first semester it was really hard, just the change, but now you're more used to it. So even though the classes are a little bit more challenging, it's just easier to do well in them, because you are more accustomed to managing schedules and everything.
Yeah, I would say definitely so I came from a pretty small high school, and coming to UT was definitely a change for me, something I had to get accustomed to my first semester here. So I think there are many mistakes to be made freshman year, as well as lessons to be learned. And I think if you focus on that, as well as just pushing forward and getting to those major classes that are really going to apply to your career later on, it's definitely worthwhile.
I'd say coursework isn't too difficult freshman year, but there's a lot of changes coming from high school that you have to really deal with. And as long as you keep your head in the game, and there's a lot of support that helps you do that, it's really tractable. There's nothing that's impossible to do.
One major piece of advice I'd give is it's really important to have a routine. Routine is huge, especially when you're having such a big transition from high school to college. And you can sort of make additions and changes to your routine as you go along. But having a set routine as you come in, or developing one, is sort of essential to getting yourself into the college mindset.
And definitely keeping with it.
Yeah.
Just being persistent with it, because so many people can say, oh, today I'll do this, tomorrow I'll do that, but keeping with it is definitely, I would say, the more difficult part of it.
Awesome. Thank you. And I'd just like to remind everyone as you're tuning in, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments and we'll try our best to get to everyone. So Kevin has an interesting question. He asked about how political the campus environment is and if any of that affects student life at all.
Well, I'll speak of being a minority at UT. Things can get tense at times, yes, just as it can in the real world. I think that being here has given me good exposure as to what things that I may encounter out in the real world. But I would say for the most part, I don't feel unsafe on campus. I feel welcomed, and just finding my community definitely helped me deal with all of the different things happening.
UT is definitely a little bit, I wouldn't say a little bit actually, definitely left-leaning. As far as Austin as a city is also very left-leaning. But I think it's safe to say that at UT there are people from all walks of life and all sort of beliefs, ethnicities, religions, and political spheres that are not afraid to say what they believe. And so sometimes that causes tension, sometimes that causes discussion. And you'll find that there is, as Sarah said earlier, there's always someone who shares your beliefs, and there's always someone to support you.
I think throughout UT there's a lot of really passionate people, and then a lot of really passionate groups. So as far as like how much it like the political aspect of UT affects you, it's really up to the person. Like if you are really passionate about a political stance, there are definitely a lot of organizations that are about that, and are maybe for one issue or one group or whatever it might be. But that's really there's an option to get really involved in that and make that like one of the main things for you in college, and which is really cool too. But you also don't have to either. And I've felt like it's really cool seeing all the different like groups that are in here. I haven't personally been like in one of them, but it's cool to see it, but it hasn't personally impacted me.
I think politics is something that's felt everywhere, not in university, real world, etc. And I think what's really cool about UT is that, as been said earlier, that there are certain orgs and groups that if you're interested and want to like talk about it or be involved in politics, there's a lot of opportunity for that. And even if you're not, you don't have to. And in the end, I think it raises what happens around UT and around Austin really gives awareness of all the different points of views. And I think what's really important is being able to understand that there are other points of views and being able to respect that. And I think UT is really great about doing that.
Yeah, great answers. Thank you. And again, just a reminder, if you have questions, leave them in the comments. So we have a question from Jason about professors you'd recommend, or like what's your favorite professor that you've had at UT?
I would definitely say my favorite professor is Dr. Brandon Jones. I had him for spacecraft dynamics, and I'm taking him currently for orbital mechanics. And although he is tough, and the class is tough, the material is tough, he is an amazing lecturer, and he really knows his information.
I think my favorite professor here is Dr. Todd Humphreys. He's my research professor as well. I'm involved with him in research since my freshman year. I've taken 2 of his courses so far. He is definitely a very difficult professor coursework-wise, but he's extremely passionate. And by taking his course, you will definitely learn something, a lot of things that you'll never have otherwise. And so definitely recommend that. And I also second Brandon Jones as well. He's a great professor.
I haven't taken too many, upper level aerospace courses, but so far my favorite has been Chad Landis. He's teaching right now for solids, and I just really like the way he lectures, and like really it's very thorough about like the topics, and I'm starting to get actually really interested in that topic, and it's seeing something that I would want to take more classes about and like get more involved in as far as like future-wise career choices. So I think it's really cool the way he inspired that.
I've heard it's got to be Dr. Manuel Rausch. He's a engineering mechanics professor. He teaches statics and dynamics. And so those are classes that you'll be taking either second semester, freshman year, or first semester, sophomore year. And so he's a very open, very, very honest professor. He's really funny. He loves his cow jokes, and I'm not kidding you. He tells a lot of cow jokes. And he's honestly just all around just a great human being to talk to, and he's always available to give you help. And his class is also very straightforward, so double plus.
Thank you. So we have a question from David, and he asks, what are some non-aerospace related job prospects that you might be able to do after graduation? And we can start with Siddharth.
Yeah. So we actually have, like, historically, this department producing a lot of graduates that go on work in the petroleum-related fields, fluid dynamics, and we're experts at that. And so there's a lot of history behind that. We also have a lot of people that I know that, just from the work that I do, they go work for companies like Apple and Google because we have a lot of programming experience, and autonomy is a very big thing in aerospace. And so we have people that go work on self-driving cars. And so not just traditional aerospace applications, but there's a lot of things that you can gain out of an aerospace degree that gives you problem-solving skills that can be applied across fields.
I for one know a lot of my friends going more into the mechanical side of things as well as civil. Because mostly I would say our first 2 years of classes are pretty similar. We're learning a lot of the same material. And I actually have a couple of friends that are taking their degree into the med field, which is pretty interesting as well. So I would say there's definitely a range of options.
Yeah. Maybe also electrical. I was hired as summer for electrical engineering, which I was really shocked about. But apparently it's very interdisciplinary too, depending on what kind of things you get involved with and school. So I think they look at that too, not just the classes that aerospace comes with, but also what you did in your school, like years that may affect too, like what you can apply to in the future.
Awesome, thank you. So I think Mihal had asked a question about grad school, but we're actually, Sarah Kitten, our advisor, will leave the email to the graduate school coordinator, and so you can email them there if you have questions. But Kush asked about how do you join TAR? Did any of y'all mention you're in TAR?
No, but I know some people in it. So TAR, Texas Aero Robotics, it's a student group here that started pretty recently, and they basically they develop a quadcopter to do some different kinds of competitions. And you can definitely join as a freshman. There's a lot of things that you can learn, even though you may not be working on, say, like autonomy straight up off the bat. There's a lot of different aspects of building a quadcopter that you can definitely get involved with straight off from freshman year.
Yeah, thank you. So we have a question from Paige, and she asks, how do you feel about the aerospace facilities? Are they helpful in giving you lab experience or support that will help aid you in your career?
So I actually just finished, I would say lab-wise, I finished the low-speed lab, low-speed aerodynamics. I took it last semester. I would say using the facilities we have here, such as the wind tunnel, it's pretty hands-on, which you may not get in other classes. And I really enjoy that aspect of having labs to actually perform different experiments in rather than just discussing them in class.
I haven't had too much lab experience as far as like straight like aerospace classes do, but there's a lot of like research labs here in general in the building of aerospace, and that gets you a lot of hands-on experience in a lot of different fields and everything.
So there's a lot of facilities available in the aerospace department, and just in general at UT. We have a low-speed wind tunnel, a high-speed wind tunnel, a water tunnel. We have an indoor drone cage to fly things. We have a rooftop facility to fly outdoors. We have supercomputers available. We have a makerspace where we can do 3D printing, laser cutting, etc. So there are a lot of things available here in the aerospace department and also UT that can really give you the skills that you need to success.
Thank you. So we have a question from Lewis, who is from Scotland. And so he has a question about what type of projects you get to work on. And so I know some of you just mentioned that, but this can be related to school or projects you've worked on just through your student groups.
So me and Siddharth worked on UAV, albeit some years apart. But UAV is interesting because it's design and fabrication and sort of testing of a drone from start to finish. There is no part of the process where we take something that's pre-made And so there's the hardware side of it, the creating the materials, assembling the plane, wiring the electronics together, programming it, and I make it sound simple, but it's not. And so that's from start to finish a fabrication process that is hard to match in terms of hands-on experience, and it's very, very similar to what you'll get working at an aircraft company.
Texas Spacecraft Laboratory is, I think, a really cool opportunity that students like undergraduate have. There's a lot of aspects that go into a satellite, as you would imagine. There's a lot of sub-teams, a lot of project management, a lot of report writing. And the whole thing is just very similar to what I've heard that are actual projects, this is not an actual satellite, but other satellites and other companies have similar sub-teams, and you get a lot of experience, just like one, working on such a big scale project, and two, working with such a variety of people too. We have a lot of like aerospace, computational, electrical, CS, and so that's something really interesting too. Not just like the hands-on experience I've gotten through it, but just the very real like project and work environment we sometimes have.
As I mentioned earlier, I'm in the Longhorn Rocket Association, where we fabricate our own rockets from scratch. Outside of that, I'm actually involved in more than just aerospace projects, I would say. So that shows that you can carry on things outside of your major and still be successful.
So I've been involved in many projects regarding autonomy, computer vision, and machine learning. And I think I can speak for like any of these student groups that the skills that you learn by doing these hands-on projects that are available for everyone really help you in the future. For example, like I've interned at NASA JPL, which I've worked on 3 times so far, and I'll be returning again this summer. And the skills I've learned directly have applied, have used very directly in my internships. And so it's definitely something that everyone can benefit from.
Awesome, thank you. So we'll do one more question, and Laura has a question about studying abroad, and if UT has a specific aerospace engineering international opportunities, or if you have to do more like humanity type stuff. So I'll let Josephine answer because I know she's studied abroad, right?
I'm not, but I do know a lot about it. Yeah, there are aerospace specific ones. There's some May masters, just like around a month. They're in May. And those there's a specific class that you can take for 2 different places. And that one I know a lot of my friends went for last summer. And it was, a majority aerospace engineering, like a lot of aerospace engineering students. There's also summer abroad opportunities, so a little bit longer than the May masters. And also a semester-long study abroad opportunity. And that one is typically in the fall or the spring, junior year. And all of those are classes that are directly like go into your course load. Like they're literally the courses that you need to take, but you can take them abroad, which is a really cool opportunity. It doesn't have to be something outside of your major, but it can also be something outside of your major. If you want to, you can take classes. Like for May masters, there's a lot of opportunities for any type of class, like history classes or government classes, and yeah. So that's a really cool opportunity. And there's also another program that's projects for underserved communities. So if you are interested in like going abroad and doing some kind of project there to like better the community, that's really cool. They fundraise their whole trip and they do an actual engineering project over there. So you get some hands-on experience in that, like doing a real life project, and you get to help the community and study abroad too, which is a really cool opportunity.
This summer, actually, I'll be going to France in the May semester to take dynamics, which is a course in the aerospace course path. And so dynamics is basically the physics of moving objects. And so that's going to be very interesting. It's taught by an ENM professor. And so we'll be going to Toulouse, France, which is the seat of Airbus. And we'll be studying there for 4 weeks. And then we'll spend 1 week in Barcelona talking about architecture and seeing the architecture there and talking about vibration, stuff like that. And so there are definitely aerospace-focused classes. I don't know if you know them, but 2 of my friends, Caroline Bick and Samuel Curtin, they're currently in TU Delft, which is a university in the Netherlands. And so they've spent the semester there and they're learning from one of the best aerospace colleges in the world.
I know outside of the classes you guys mentioned, there's also ASE 333T, which is the communications course we have to take. I know that one, I think it might be in Barcelona, I believe, but that's another course that can also be taken, as well as I'm planning on doing a study abroad actually after I graduate, hopefully the semester after I graduate. Nothing that really counts toward aerospace, but I do want to just get some study abroad in just for the experience.
I think there's also an opportunity in Austria to do engineering design, which is also one of the required courses, which is also pretty popular.
And studying abroad is definitely something that helps to complete your sort of resume, let's say, when employers looking at you, because having international experience is very important.
Yeah, great answers. Thank you. So we've run out of time for today, but if you do have more questions that we didn't get to, you can email us at asc.advising@utexas.edu, and we'll leave that email in the description. So we hope this information was helpful for you in making a college decision, and we really hope to see you with us in the LRC next fall. So thank you for joining us, and hook 'em horns.